The Packers schedule is finally here, and I cannot be more excited for this NFL season. Now, I know I'm a little bit late. I actually, came from Key West the other day, so it's like I had a lot of traveling I was doing, but like, I got home pretty late last night. And of course, I knew the schedule last night, but there was no way. And I also worked this morning, so that's the reason why this schedule did not come out immediately. But I did want to give my initial reaction, so here we go. Starting off with the very first game we've known for about at least a month now is the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers playing in Brazil, and supposedly there is a lot of Packer fans there. I don't know the exact numbers, and I don't know how there is so many Packer fans there, but I think it's just really crucial that the game is not in Philly because those Philly fans are just absolutely brutal. But it's a Friday night game, one of the very first Friday night games in the NFL in a very, very, very long time. They had a Friday night game or the Friday day game, last year with the Jets. I think it was the Jets and the Dolphins, something like that, for the Black Friday game. But this is the first Friday night game in a very, very long time, like I said, because of high school rules or whatever. So, yeah, cool, kind of cool. This is going to be like a really, really, really tough game. The Eagles are going to be completely balling out this year, at least in my prediction. They did really good during this offseason, so their expectations are going to be really high. And I think this is a really tough start for the Green Bay Packers this year, but I do see us squeaking out just a little bit in this win. I think it's going to be like a really close game, like a 3 to 4 point game, but like I said, maybe I'm a biased Packer fan, so that's why I'm saying that, but this game is going to be really, really tough in Brazil, but I got the Packers by 3 to 4 points, basically. Now, the Packers' home game, or the very first home game of the year, is against the Indianapolis Colts at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Oh, these are the Central times, so I just will say that before I get into the video, I guess. Well, you can see right there on your screen. But anyways, it's 1 o'clock in my time, and I think this is the perfect slot for the not the Cowboys. I almost said the Cowboys. Oof. I think it's the perfect time for the Colts. They're not prime time team, I guess you could say. They're gonna be a good team this year. I think they're gonna be just about the 500 range. I think they could sneak into the playoffs, but I know, like I said, the Packers are opening up the season against the Colts. I really do like that, and I do think the Packers should win this game. Of course, again, a biased Packer fan here, so take it with a grain of salt. But I do think we're gonna end up squeaking away with this game. Again, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any means, but I think it might be like a touchdown lead or something like that. I have no clue, of course, because it's week 2, and who knows how teams play on week 1. So I think the Packers are going to end up squeaking by just a little bit against the Colts. Maybe 5 to 6 points, maybe a touchdown, who knows? But yeah, Packers starting off 2-0. In my opinion. Moving on to week 3 against the Tennessee Titans at 1 o'clock Eastern in Tennessee. I will actually not be watching this game because me, my brother, and my father have Tampa Bay Buccaneer season tickets. So if you guys go to Tampa a lot, we'll definitely be down there a lot. So definitely look out for us. Again, if you guys live in Tampa, it's very rare. But like I said, I won't be able to watch this game on TV. But again, I think it's a perfect time slot for this game because the Tennessee Titans are unfortunately a bottom barrel team. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be an easy game because the Packers, they do really good against really good teams. But then when it comes to the bottom of the barrel teams, we completely just squander out and can't do nothing. So I am not going to say this is a guaranteed win because the Packers are just really weird when it comes to really bad teams. But just the fact that it's in Tennessee, I think it's going to be, again, a really close game. Again, I'm thinking the Packers should win this game. I'm starting them off at 3-0 this year. Again, take it with a grain of salt because I am a Packer fan, but I do feel comfortable with this game. But then again, just the Packers and how they play really weak teams, we play really weak. So I think it's going to be a really close game, but the Packers are starting off the season 3-0. Now, this was one of the games I was looking forward to this year, the Aaron Jones reunion with Green Bay. It's week 4. The Minnesota Vikings are coming to Green Bay. It's a 1 o'clock game, so I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping at least a 4:30 game, but I understand, Packers can't have too many primetime games. We have 5, I think, at the moment, so that's pretty good in my opinion. But of course, the divisional rivals are the most exciting games of every team and every, week, whatever. I think, the Packers usually struggle with the Vikings in Green Bay for some reason. It's like we usually do really good in Minneapolis, but then when it comes to Green Bay, it's just like it's vice versa. The Vikings always beat us at our home, and then we always beat them at their house. It's weird. I don't know, but I think, in all honesty, I think Aaron Jones is probably going to ball out this game. I think this is where the Packers take their first L again against the freaking Minnesota Vikings. Of course, I would love for them to win here, but then again, I just have a really really weird feeling with the Vikings this year. I think they're going to completely stomp all over us. I don't know. I hope not, of course, but I just have a really weird feeling about this game. So I got the Packers at 3-1 at this point. Unfortunately, against the Vikings, our first loss. Week 5, we are going to the Los Angeles Rams. I think this is a good time slot. Of course, it has to be at least a 4 o'clock game because they're in LA. But at least it's a 4:30 in my opinion. It gives me time to, well, not gives me time, but it gives me a really high chance of watching the game. But the Rams are going to be a really good team this year. And I know that I put them in about the middle of the pack in my power rankings, but they're still going to be a really good team. Their defense is going to take a little bit of a hit. They had a couple of good players on the draft, but the Rams, like I said, they're going to be a really good team this year, at least in my opinion. Their offense is going to be dominant. Their defense is going to be a little bit questionable since Aaron Donald's retiring, but I think this game is going to be a shootout. But the Packers usually just don't play well in California. It's weird. I don't know why. Like with the San Francisco 49ers, we played the Rams before, we lost. I don't know. The Packers just really struggle on the West Coast for some reason. I think the Packers take another L here again. I could see us winning for sure, 100%. I could really see the Packers going 17-0. So I will say that immediately. But then again, I got to be somewhat realistic here. I think the Rams end up beating the Packers. Again, another close game. So the Packers are starting off 3-2. Moving on to week 6 against the Arizona Cardinals at 1 o'clock. This is the perfect time for this game. The Cardinals are going to be a little bit better than last year, but they're not going to be a primetime game yet or a primetime team yet. And I think the Packers should easily win this game. The Cardinals still got a lot of holes, but I like what they did this offseason. But then again, they're just not there yet. But I think the Packers will end up winning this game, probably by a touchdown or two. Oh, again, should be, or unless, the Packers just completely freaking fall apart against trash teams like they always do, like I said earlier in the video. But I got the Packers being 4-2 at this point of the season. Now, week 7 against the Houston Texans at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I personally thought this game was going to be at least 4:30. Or maybe a Sunday night, Monday night, whatever. I am really disappointed this game is a 1 o'clock game, unfortunately. But, of course, we all know what the Texans did this offseason. They got Stephon Diggs. They completely revamped their defense. Their offense is going to be absolutely insane this year. And C.J. Stroud should have a really good year. Like I said, I thought at least this game was going to be 4:30. But, again, it is what it is. They might flex it up. Who knows? I think they could start flexing Sunday night games up from week 5 to week 12. Something like that. It's a weird schedule. But in all honesty, the Packers are 4-2 at this point. I have no clue how this game is going to go. It just depends on who comes out punching first. Just because maybe it's in Green Bay, I think the Green Bay Packers might take advantage here. I don't know, but this is going to be a close game. This is literally a coin flip, but I'm going to have to go with the Packers, the home team, just because maybe I'm biased a little bit. So take it with a grain of salt. So I got the Packers at 5-2 at this point. Week 8 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is going to be another good game, 1 o'clock Eastern. I am actually attending this with my whole family. So if you are going to this game, definitely look out for me again. Like I said, we live in Florida. We're gonna be going to the Buccaneer home games, most of the Buccaneer home games. But yeah, definitely look for me in Jacksonville if you're going to be there. So that's gonna be a really fun game. But in all honesty, Jacksonville Jaguars did have a pretty good offseason. They got a couple wide receivers. They drafted Brian Thomas. Now, of course, it all depends on how Trevor Lawrence actually does. But the Jaguars should be above 500 team. It's gonna be a really good game. I'm not too mad about the 1 o'clock. Like I said, I'm attending the game, so I like 1 o'clock games personally. It's going to be a little bit warm for the Packers. The Packers are usually not good in Florida as well. We had the Saints game a couple years ago in Jacksonville because the Saints stadium got ruined by the hurricane, and that game was a 38-3 game. So I think, in my personal opinion, I want the Packers to win, but I can see the Packers losing here against the Jacksonville Jaguars just because they are not good in Florida. So, yeah, I got the Packers at 5-3 at this point. Week 9 against the Detroit Lions. Of course, the Lions are going to be balling out this year. Top of the NFC for sure. We're going to have to worry about them all season. But this game is a 4:30 game. I think that's perfect for this time slot. And of course, it's going to be in Green Bay. And the Packers are usually pretty good against the Lions in Green Bay. Now, granted, the last couple of years were a little questionable for sure, like last year and the year before. Don't worry about that. We're usually pretty good against the Lions in Green Bay, okay? So leave me alone. But in all honesty, I think the Packers are come out punching here. They just lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least in my opinion. I think the Packers are going to end up winning this game. Again, it's not going to be a blowout whatsoever because the Lions are going to be really good this year. But like I said, usually the Packers are good against the Lions. Not the last couple of years, okay? Not the last couple of years, but they usually are good against the Lions. But I got the Packers starting off the season 6-3 before their bye week, which is week 10. In my opinion, I love that bye week. It's a lot better than last year's bye week. It was like week 6, week 7, something like that. So yeah, right before the bye week, the Packers are 6-3. And now week 11, our first game against the Chicago Bears, the 1 o'clock. This fan base is just so annoying, man. For real. But the Packers are like 10-0 or something in the last 5 years against the Bears. Depending on how Caleb Williams is doing, how the Bears are doing, I think it's going to be a really good game for sure. But I really do think the Packers are going to end up winning this just because the Bears talk so much crap in the offseason. That's all they do. Literally, that's all they do. But like I said, I do got the Packers winning this game. I don't know by how much. I think it's going to be at least a touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns. I don't know because the Packers are always killing the Bears every single year. So the Packers are 7-4 at this point. No, wait, 7-3, 7-3, my bad, 7-3. And now maybe here's the reason why it said 7-4. The San Francisco 49ers are playing the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay at 4:30. I think it's the perfect time slot again. This could have been a Sunday night football game or a Monday night for sure. But then again, I understand why they put 4:30. But we all know how the Packers are against the 49ers. It's just terrible, man. Especially in Santa Clara. We have a little bit better hope in Green Bay, but then again, it don't freaking matter. Of course, this is one of the games I absolutely want to win, but then again, if I had to be realistic, I could see the Packers losing here. Not 4-3, but freaking we're gonna be 7-4 at this point of week 12, which is a pretty good record so far. I will admit that, but then again, gotta be realistic as possible. I can really see the Packers losing here this game. And now we got the Miami Dolphins playing on Thanksgiving night, the very latest game of Thanksgiving. I'm personally really excited. I love Thanksgiving games. If anything, if I had to choose, I would always want to play the Lions on Thanksgiving just because there's a 12 o'clock game, which that's the reason why I like the time slot. But I am not going to be mad about this one. But of course, we all know that the Dolphins are going to be really good this year. The Packers' schedule is low-key really tough this year. We're playing a lot of good teams. It's going to be brutal this year, if I had to be honest. But just because this is the, Thursday night game, it's late November, and the Dolphins are a Florida team. They usually do a little bit worse in cold weather games. I do got the Packers win this game just because it's in Green Bay. I do think it's going to be a really close game. And again, the Miami Dolphins are going to be really good, but they do have a tendency of struggling in really, really cold games. And this is a possibility of being a really, really cold game. So I got the Packers not starting off the season, but at this point of the season, 8-4, which I would absolutely love if I was a Packer fan. Now, the Week 14 game, back-to-back Thursday night games. We're playing against the Detroit Lions on Thursday Night Football. Now, this is going to be a tough one. We just smacked the Lions a few weeks ago early in the season, at least in my predictions. I think this is where the Lions are going to smack us here because they're freaking pissed off. They're trying to win a division. And I think the Packers are just going to end up losing this game just because of the Thursday night game. It's in Detroit. That environment's going to be insane. And now, of course, I would love to win against the Lions here. I don't want to lose, but I got to be realistic here. I truthfully do. And like I said, it feels up to me, Packers 17-0 all day, baby. But I got the Lions winning this game here. Again, it's going to be a really close game in my opinion. I got the Packers 8-5 at this point. And now the Packers are having another primetime game here on Sunday night against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm a little bit surprised by this, honestly. If with Seattle Seahawks, I would expect at least a 4 o'clock game because, of course, they're on the West Coast. But we all know, us Packer fans know, we have a really hard time with the Seattle Seahawks for some reason. Not the last couple of years, but when it comes to going to Seattle, the Packers just can't win the game to save their lives. Of course, we all know about the Fail Mary, the freaking onside kick, whatever. The whole debacle is just sad. But I truthfully do think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be about just a 500 team this year. I do think the Packers are going to end up winning this game just to get some kind of revenge for freaking past history. I don't know, but I think the Packers are going to squeak by this point, and I think they're going to be 9-5 at this point. And then we got another primetime game freaking Monday Night Football against the New Orleans Saints. Again, I am a little bit shocked by this game. I thought this would be a Sunday 1 o'clock game, if anything, just like last year. But hey, I'll take all the primetime games. That's all I can say. But in all reality, I mean, I don't think the Saints are going to be that good of a team this year. Just maybe below 500 because that NFC South is really bad this year. I do think the Packers should win this game pretty easily. Again, like I said a couple of times, when it comes to weaker opponents, the Packers are just really weird with weaker opponents. But I do think the Packers should win this game. Should win. So at this point, what we got? Freaking. Oh, we're 10-5 at this point because the Seattle was a ninth pick or ninth win. So as of right now, we are 10-5, at least in my prediction. And then we got the Minnesota Vikings week 17 at 1 o'clock game. This makes sense. You know, of course, we don't know exactly how the Vikings are going to be. And the Vikings ended up beating us earlier in the season in week 4 or 3, 5. I don't freaking remember which week it was. But I do think the Vikings are going to win in Green Bay. I think the Packers are going to win in Minnesota. Like I said earlier, the Packers are usually really good in Minnesota for some reason. And I think the Packers should easily win this game. Like, we always blow them out in Minnesota. It's so weird. So I got the Packers 11-5 at this point. And the last but not least, we are ending off the season with the Chicago Bears again at Green Bay. Of course, we don't know if it's going to be a Saturday night or a Sunday game because, you know, they do a whole bunch of flexing on the last week, which I think is pretty cool, by the way. But I think the Bears at this point might be fighting for a playoff spot, and the Packers will be fighting for a playoff spot as well. But I do think that the Packers are going to end up beating the freaking Chicago Bears because that's just what we do every single year. The Bears suck. I don't care what you say. Well, they might not be that bad this year, but you know what I freaking mean because, you know, the Bears want to talk all this crap. I do think we're going to go 2-0 against the Bears. I think we're going to go 1-1 against the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions, and we're going to end off the season at 12-5. And with the 12-5 record, I do think that should be enough to make the playoffs. Now, of course, it depends on what the Lions do this year. I think they're going to be right at the top of the NFC North for sure, fighting with the Packers. I think the Bears will probably squeak by in the playoffs. If anything, barely miss it. And I think the Vikings won't make the playoffs this year. I don't know exactly how Jason McCarthy's going to be. So that's my kind of synopsis on the NFC North. But I got the Packers finishing at 12-5. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. If I had a lot of weird picks or a completely solid pick, who knows? But yeah, if you know, like the video, subscribe if you have not already. And I'm out of here. Deuces.